We've had projectionists say that things have fallen off the work table behind them. There have been lights that have come off and on up here when nobody was supposed to be up here.
All right, so up here, we've had a few different experiences. You guys know the story up here? Okay, with Foster Fink Finley?
There are stories throughout the building, on all 3 of the levels, down in the basement, up here to the balcony. And up here where we are is mainly Fink's territory. We're getting close to the projection booth up here, and of course that's where he spends most of his time. And we do have patrons that come to the theater that experience Fink in different ways.
We have had experiences here that may lead us to believe that it was Fink.
Yeah.
We've heard footsteps around that side of the theater where the projection booth stairs are.
It was loud. It was really loud.
It came from either like the lobby. We've seen a couple things like out of the corner of your eye.
Do I feel like he's here? Based on my own experiences, I think that he's here. I think that's part of the beauty of this place, and what's fascinating is that why are all these spirits still here and drawn to this theater? We've got a layout, we understand where our areas of focus are, so it makes it much easier that when we come in on site, for setup.
Here for you.
And so I asked if maybe they could, dedicate a little bit of time and some resources to investigating out here.
I know you're usually on his Sherpa.
Oh, are you?
I'm really, really, really hoping that I get to see the stories I've heard come true about the theater.
So we'll start in 1926, which is when we first opened in downtown on Franklin Street, and we have been showing films ever since. Anyone who has ever experienced Tampa theater has a very strong and usually very positive reaction to it.
Yeah. I don't know how I'm going to feel when the lights go off, though. That might be a different story. We'll see.
No.
We are internationally recognized for being one of the most well-preserved remaining art house movie palaces of the 20s, and also one of the most utilized theaters of our generation.
I'm Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, no, it's always fun here at Tampa Theater.
But we've got secrets too. Well, one, I only keep this heap for you. 'Cause I'm the ugliest guy on the Lower East Side. But I got wheels and you wanna go for a ride.
Just the validation that we constantly get of people, coming and visiting the theater and, experiencing the same things over and over. It's just, there is something here. When you're able to come here and react or interact with the spirits of the past.
So the yellow.
That remain here, that there's a reason that they're here. What is the reason that they're here?
You make it turn on, we'll grab that stuff and we'll leave.
I mean, you look at this place and you come in and you feel this place, you'd want to stay too. They may not always interact or react to us on cue. The happenings may not always be Foster Fink Finley.
Is that you, Fink?
Or the man in the fedora.
That would spike as soon as you got to that chair.
Or the lady in white. There's a lot more going on here that we're still trying to understand.
When I met Jeremy and his team, they are, pardon the expression, but very normal. They all have very normal day jobs and do this out of a passion and an interest and a willingness to help others.
We have never had like this much activity.
When he was really young, he had a situation which kind of started everything, an experience he had with a Ouija board.
Ouija, it's just a game, isn't it?
He was playing with it and asking questions he probably shouldn't have been asking.
Isn't it?
Well, isn't it? Wanting to know why and how. And I think that kind of started his career in the paranormal.
I've had experiences since I was 10 years old that back then I didn't really understand. But based on my experiences from when I was a young child, I always had this sense of like what forces, invisible forces, can make things happen the way they happen.
This is his passion. Everything he does, like it's the Tampa Theater. This is what he loves to do. It shows, especially during the time of year and the work that he puts into it. It really shows he's really connected to the Tampa Theater.
We don't get paid to do what we do. It's not an exact science. So to lure someone into an interest in the paranormal, or finding someone who has a passion for it, who really wants to learn, is actually hard to find versus an enthusiast. You also give it permission to do something more, to just be careful when you guys do your EVP sessions. Pam?
Yeah.
And bring your device over here.
Just tell me what I need to look for on this.
Okay, so here, this runs off the electromagnetic field of the Earth.
Right.
Okay, so this is actually your most natural EMF.
Mm-hmm.
If this thing just starts moving outside of true north, it's not supposed to happen. That means there's something occurring in the natural electromagnetic field.
Okay.
Okay, and that's said to be potentially paranormal.
No. Okay, great.
Phenomenon. Okay. And this is Mike Waldman. Mike Waldman's actually a retired Hillsborough County Sheriff's deputy. So he's actually been on the team for a few years now.
Can you cross the rods, please?
Was it singing and dancing?
Do you like to play tricks on people?
Well, we've just had an interest in investigating the paranormal probably for about the last 4 or 5 years. And it's just a mother-son team, and we go out, and we've been all over the country. And Tampa Theater is just one of our favorite local places to come and check out.
It's been sort of a personal interest. It's just fun to chase the unknown, so it's just a curiosity. I'm 15 years old.
Ryan, sit on the toilet with your dowsing rods.
No.
And we want to do a little bit more of the manager's office, and then we're going to do some stuff up in the projection room. So, okay. Because we've been here before, this process is actually pretty seamless. So anytime we come back, it's just a matter of, okay, where do we want to focus our attention? So once we have our plan of where we want to focus our attention, setup is relatively easy. Okay, the dressing room's on the right-hand side. Also, guys, there's an open doorway here to some utility areas. Let's just make sure we don't go in there.
It was uncommon for a film palace, a movie palace, to be built with dressing rooms because we are now and have always been primarily film. But when we opened in 1926, that was also the height of the vaudeville era. So in between the screenings of the movies, we would have vaudevillian performers who would come out and do song and dance acts or magic acts or small animal acts. So when the theater was built, it was built with these 2 dressing rooms. This was the larger one. This would have been the stars room because it had the bathroom. And then the one next door is smaller and doesn't have the bathroom. But these were original to the building and were built for those vaudevillian performers.
All right, so you ready to do some divination action? So how do you prime them?
As you can see, these are just copper rods that are inside these handles, and these handles, you cannot manipulate the way that the rods are going. Like, they swing freely, like you cannot manipulate it or anything. Sometimes we can ask questions just to confirm that it's not coincidence that they're crossing by saying, point to where you're standing in the room.
So if you have a message for us, and we will try and get that message out. We haven't spent a lot of time down the dressing room areas because there hasn't been a lot of immediate claims. Well, that's because not a lot of patrons come down here. So that makes sense. But, when you have, actors and, performers and whatnot. Can you try, please?
Because I am a trained professional. I have in my pocket a genuine Moroccan leather wallet made from a genuine Moroccan. And inside, oh gosh, oh gee!
Back in the late 80s, we had a performance by Harry Anderson. A lot of people may remember Harry Anderson as being the judge on Night Court. But he was also a magician and a stand-up comedian and had a stage show that he brought here to town.
Harry Anderson.
So he was assigned here. So this is dressing room number 2.
Who just booked it out of here. Something happened. He had an experience, and
He said it felt weird. He didn't like it down here.
He didn't want to be down here. He wanted to be in a different part of the building. So, of course, we let him, be in another part of the building to prepare for the show. And we didn't really think anything of it. We've had reports over the years from this downstairs corridor of people feeling weird, feeling like things were a little bit off. And there's a very natural explanation for that has nothing to do with paranormal and everything to do with all of the electrical wiring and conduit and machinery that are down here. It creates a situation that paranormal investigators call a fear cage. And what that basically means is that anybody who is sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies and fields, which a lot of people are, in the presence of high EMF energy, are going to feel weird. They're going to feel nauseous. They're going to, in some extreme cases, hallucinate. It's why you hear reports of people who live under power lines saying that their house is haunted. It probably isn't. It's probably just that they're sensitive to EMF.
She's going to do it for me.
If he can tap in, common belief is that the dowsing rods, and they're still used by many communities, even Amish communities and whatnot, to locate wells and things like that for water.
Are you over 30 years of age?
You're going to ask a lady how old she is.
Damn straight.
Well, think about, humans as electrical conductors.
Exactly.
And so, when you have a frequency or a current running through you, copper is the best,
Exactly.
the best conduit.
So with these, we only want to ask yes or no questions. So let's just... If there's a spirit here, can you please cross the rods for us?
The lights won't hurt you. The noise won't hurt you.
Thank you. And you're holding still?
I'm still.
Are you over 35 years of age? Okay, so she's between 30 and 35.
F, G, H.
In my mind, I'm getting the name Heather. Is your name Heather?
Is your name Heather? We appreciate that, Heather.
So is it really Heather, or is it Trickster playing tricks? Because I can't help but feel
Is
that
this really Heather?
Yeah.
Is this the Trickster? Are you also known as the Trickster? Are you here at the theater because this was a happy place for you? Can you uncross the rods?
Did you try, Heather? Do you like to play tricks on people?
Was it a magic act?
Mom, dude, I'm getting really dizzy. I don't know why.
You done?
I was staring at those for too long, but
Well, it's also listening to your body as well.
Yeah.
So, because some of these things can take a toll on you. You're battery drained earlier. We get battery drained because, the way they manifest is by feeding off energy. And, we're energy. These devices put off energy. And so they're going to try and draw that energy to try and manifest. make themselves known. Clearly, something was known in here because most of the rods are pretty reactive. This thing was flat, nothing, flat. And he held it up to my chest and it went full tilt. It was lit up. I mean, he held it to my chest and it was lit up.
I have no idea. We're just amateurs. We do this for fun. So it's, you know, he goes to amusement parks and rides roller coasters with my husband, and ghost chasing is our thing. So we go on long weekend trips, and some of our favorite places, St. Augustine. We love to go up to St. Augustine and investigate. All over Florida. We go all over Florida.
So for being one of the most haunted buildings in Tampa, one of the common misconceptions is that we must have had all these people die in the building, and we really haven't. There's only been one confirmed death on the property since it's been a theater, and that was of Robert Miller, who was a ticket taker for us back in the 50s. And the story goes that everybody in town knew Robert because he kind of had a shtick. That he would take your ticket and he would spin around and click his heels. I'm not going to try it. Wipe out on camera. But that was his thing, and then he would hand your ticket back to you before you came into the theater. And the story goes that on May 29th, 1959, which was a Friday, when the crew got here to the theater that morning to open up, they found Robert dead on the tiles out front, in between the box office and the front door. And that Friday happened to be payday, so they never found Robert's check, and they never figured out what happened. So it really was a mystery what happened to him. All they know is that the back of his head was crushed in and that he had bled to death on the tile. So the spot is right out front, right outside the main doors. And what's interesting about it is that when we do investigations out there, the only time that you and your team have caught anything out there is at the beginning of a tour. If we were to go out there at the end of the tour, it seems that there's nothing. And we find that interesting because as a ticket taker, he would be out there at the beginning of the show. Absolutely.
I would say so. You're very pragmatic.
Well, and that's the thing is that I've had experiences that I couldn't like explain rationally, you know? I mean, I have tried. But once again, it comes back to how arrogant would it be for me to say, you know, that I know there's nothing beyond right now. You know what I mean? So I'm not, we'll see.
But just if you hear something, just timestamp it.
Oh yeah, what is that?
There's water running.
Yeah, there's.
And you'll hear the air
I don't know.
We heard a whistling sound there too.
Oh, did you just now when you went up?
If you guys like a whistling sound, like I asked Jill and she's like, I don't know, huh?
Yeah, like a high pitched beep or a whistle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a beep.
And it sounded like maybe it would be one of our devices, but we don't have anything over there.
There's no one down there. We were just down there. There's absolutely no one here. I have no idea what that was. It was a whispering. It was like almost like a woman that was happy and excited. It sounded as if it was like excited, like joyful whenever you get all giddy. It sounded like that, and it sounded like it came from almost upstairs-ish, but it was definitely in this area.
Get to come here for the spirits of the theater.
I know that in the hallway above us, I think there's a report of a woman in white, so that could be it.
The woman in white is a story that we don't have a ton of evidence for, but the evidence we do have is pretty compelling. We talk about that there's only ever been one confirmed death on the property since we've been Tampa Theater, but that there was a death out in the street actually before the theater was here. And the story that we've been told is that there was a young woman who was waiting for somebody out on the corner of what is now Franklin and Polk, and was struck by a carriage and killed while she was standing out on the street. In more recent years, we had a volunteer in particular who claims that she saw a woman in a white dress walking up and down the hallway up here. And as we started piecing together her account and some other stories we've heard from other people, that's kind of what made sense to us, that it might be that woman from the corner who might still be on this property.
And there's been people who have seen an apparition in the hallway walking back and forth, but usually not hearing things. So it's a chance it was her. I will also warn you, though, the acoustics in this building are really strange. And so if there's somebody up in the mezzanine talking, you hear it very clearly down here. So that's one of those, check and recheck, that you may very well have heard something, but the acoustics in here are really weird. And we get a lot of sound bouncing around.
I just know it definitely came from over there.
And the story goes that you had a member of the theater that was walking through this particular area, the mezzanine, and they turned and seen a woman in white standing just back here.
The history, it's definitely an interesting historic place. Architecture all over the walls, I just love it. It adds so much character.
I just think it's a beautiful old building with so much, it's very positive energy that's here. It's nothing scary, nothing dark. So it's kind of neat to just come and see if you can make a connection with the past.
Yeah, I've had it for about 5 years now, I want to say.
That's part of the energy and the history that's here, is you can feel the past all around you just because of how many people have come in and out over the years, and the fact that it's still a functioning theater.
It's such a unique location because of all those aspects where you can just feel like you're right in history.
Seems they're telling you just what to do. We might have thought of that before.
The employee was leaving and came upon this particular urn spinning in place. And this urn, if you look at it, I mean, this is an old urn. It's heavy. It's made of like almost a concrete or some metal, but it's a very heavy urn. And this thing was spinning in place. Her name is Virginia Red Walters from Fire and Ice Paranormal. She's been studying the paranormal for 30 years. This is the same spot where Red was picking up an immense amount of energy. She was picking up on the woman in the white. The coincidence of it.
What Red said, that the body had experienced trauma. Somebody that had a lot of trauma through her midsection, and her comment was, it's almost like she got hit by a truck.
Yes.
And that's when it kind of clicked with me that these stories might all be going together.
I'm not sure exactly where she's seen though, so we might have to get that confirmed. Mom. Are you guys over?
No, babe, I went to the green room to get some Advil because my knee hurts, but other than that.
All right, so I heard a woman's voice come from over there.
No, I was here talking with Miss Jill. Yep.
And everyone else was over here.
2 ladies went to the restroom and then they came back and sat right there, and she hasn't moved. Well, my husband's an engineer, and it's always interesting for us because he never wants to come with us. But the couple times when he has come and something has happened, his response is always, And that's it. That's it.
That has never been gutted, has never had a bad restoration happen. My husband came on the tour, and you have to understand, my husband's an engineer, and if you can't make a spreadsheet out of it, it probably doesn't exist. But we're fixing all of that, and the fact that we have this snapshot in time.
Me and my team of painters and sculptors did all of the painting on the interior and restored the sculptures.
So we were preserved.
Some of the sculptures had to be worked on site. We restored the fountains, which involved going down in the basement under the crawl space that's under the floor of the theater, like this. And my friend who went down there with me when we came out, he said, "You didn't see that big rat, did you?" I said, "No."
were initially introduced planning a Halloween event. I wanted to do a late night lights off paranormal investigation event that we could have open to the public. And through a series of mutual acquaintances, I was introduced to Jeremy and his team and was struck immediately not only with how much they respected the building.
Who wants to go with me? Because you never go alone. All right, very good.
How much they respected what they were doing and why they were there.
Actually, we're going to go this way. All right. For safety reasons. We don't want to...
But just what great people.
You guys said you brought a REM pod. That's exciting. A lot of strange things have been happening. I had a personal experience up here. I was coming through the doorway. I was taking some full spectrum shots with a camera. And as I'm taking I'm getting ready to move my tripod, and I feel a very distinct double tap on my shoulder. And at first I'm like, I don't know if that happened. And I see this drape thing over here on this spotlight. And I'm thinking I bumped up against something, and I didn't. I stayed in the same place. Okay. You know, they think that when someone dies and your spirit goes somewhere, you know, that they're just on another frequency, that they're on another plane. And so we're trying to tap into that frequency.
It's still part of movie history, even if you don't believe that the spirit of Fink Finley is still haunting the balcony.
The theater itself is almost as if it's a museum-like quality. And with any, you know, place of history, there are always ghosts attached. If it's not to the location, it's to the objects that are there.
And this particular chest is from the 16th century.
One of my painters did. He was up in the scissor lift all the way up there, and he said that he was possessed for a few seconds up there. He said it was just this presence just came through him, that he just felt cold all of a sudden at this, and he knew that something was up there.
Certain types of minerals and stones have this ability to harness the energy around us and replay it through history. It's kind of like what these cameras do, that we've been able to design and create a lens and then play them back. And so if who's to say that the planet doesn't have this same ability and that the lens is right here? And so that's one theory. The other theory is that there are intelligent spirits that are actually residing here, that they are doing things in whatever way they possibly can, and how much they can manifest to let you know that they are there. Right in the spot where I got tapped. We're getting it.
Yep.
There's always something going on. So. There's something drawing them here, and what I love about this place is that it's original, that it's always been this place. It's not been anything else. And so, when you have something of originality, there's something magical about it.
What we want to investigate tonight, what we want to dig a little more into, is we had a couple on a ghost tour last year that were using an Ovilus device.
Hey, y'all.
And they were getting words that were popping up. And one of the words, among many words that came up, was Paul, the name Paul. And so they asked me if I knew who Paul was, and I said no. And they said, well, we asked Paul if he had worked here, and the word that came up was crew. So they were saying, we think there was somebody named Paul that worked here, and he was part of some crew, and he did everything. Now, with 90 years of history, I don't know the names, of course, of every person who's ever worked here. But a few weeks later, we were looking at a photo album that had come into our possession from 1932, and the cover was stamped Paul Short, Operations Manager. So, we all got some goosebumps, and we thought, okay, well, if there was obviously a Paul here.
So we're going to go up to the manager's office, so we'll start heading that way. So.
Hi, everybody.
What is this?
I'll show you. All right, so we're going to play with this tonight. So I brought this as for you guys as well. So it's like a trigger object device. Have you guys seen this? Do you guys know what this is? Okay. This is a trigger object device but it's also a piece of equipment. It's not just a teddy bear. There's actually electronic components in here. So once I turn this thing on, it does several different things. You know, during EVP sessions, it will actually ask the questions for you.
And I'm ready to investigate.
Okay. So we'll let him run. Be mindful of what he says, and let me know what he says when I get back.
There was obviously a Paul here, and as the operations manager, he would have done everything and would have run the crew and probably would have worked in this office. So tonight and through subsequent investigations, we're hoping maybe to see if Paul might be the one that we've heard jingling up here.
So I figured, while we're up here, do you have your divination rods? Because here's the thing about this theater, where there's activity all over the place. So, you know, Ryan, if you want to have a seat somewhere, maybe even on the steps over here next to you, buddy. You want to come close?
You have to try to stay as still as possible. You want to try to kind of have your elbows where they're pulled in a little bit, just so that, because otherwise you cramp. And then you want to have one hand a little bit above the other one so that they can actually cross. Yeah.
Okay, so is there a spirit here? Can you cross the rods if there's a spirit here?
Oh, it's moving.
It is moving.
How old are you?
Earlier I heard it say, what's that rolling sound? Earlier I heard it say, do you want to hold my hand? I'm not sure if that's meaning like something's touching it or that's like a regular
Paul,
question.
did you touch the teddy bear behind him?
Can you touch my tummy?
Was this your office? Can you spread the rods apart, please? As far as you can?
Dear, are you moving that? Did you not get to that?
Paul, do you know which one of us is Jill?
You know, I've been dying to ask that, but I didn't know how you would feel about that. So.
There's more lights on it.
Paul, can you use the rods to point to where Jill is standing?
Hey, Paul. Well, when I first got here 5 years ago, a lot of these ghost stories were kind of handed down to me by the previous marketing director. And one of the stories she handed down...
I detect EMF.
Well, it will talk, because
It's been talking in this form.
What's it been saying?
We don't know, we were talking over it.
You're supposed to be paying attention.
Joe the janitor. And the story of Joe the janitor was that people would hear keys jingling up here at this door. And the story goes that Joe the janitor and his jingling keys could be heard by people standing in the lobby. But if you started to come up the stairs or if you tried to say anything, called out to him, that the jingling would stop.
Okay, let's give someone else a try.
My stomach is in knots right now.
And then perhaps elicit response.
But I have IBS, so.
Let that note be known. This is Sara. She has IBS. Paranormal investigator. If there are any spirits that want to communicate with us,
Right?
yep, just hold them as still as you possibly can. Yep, and one higher than a little bit. Paul, are you still here? If there is a Paul here at this theater, could you please let us know using these devices? Speak your name clearly. Let us know that it's you. We'd like to hear from you.
Can you make a noise for me?
Doesn't make any sense. Can you grab this bear by the hand?
This thing just turned on. It's like dribbling water, and I didn't do it. I was peeing.
So you didn't wash your hands?
I didn't wash my hands yet, no. I'm planning on going back, but this thing just turned on.
That tickle.
You're jiggling of keys.
corroborated by several people on our staff that had heard the jingling keys. The only problem is, yes, we did have a Joe the janitor, but he's still alive. So he's probably not haunting the building quite yet. It was a good name to attach to the story. So we've kind of adapted the story over the years.
Okay. So let's do the investigation.
That is the coolest thing, and to be able to interact. Holy crap! And he's soft.
It's called Boo Buddy.
Boo Buddy.
The Boo Buddy.
Boo Buddy.
I don't want to own that bear.
That voice is creepy.
When Ryan was a toddler, he had a Tickle Me Elmo, and one night it fell off his playroom. It fell off his bookcase and woke me up because it was talking, and it went out into the garbage that same night. It didn't come back in the house.
I don't really tell them about it that much. I mean, some of my friends have gone with us, but I mean, they're fine with it. They're very accepting. I mean, it's not like it's weird or anything. It's just cool.
But what's so funny to me is the number of people who come into this building absolute skeptics and have an experience that they can't explain. And that's what I tell people all the time is if you ask most people if they believe in the paranormal, they'll say no, or they'll give you a strange look. But then when you suggest that all the paranormal is something that's outside the normal, something you can't explain. Even though I don't have a lot of personal stories, I've never been tapped on the shoulder, I've never seen the woman in white, I have been here for several of the investigations.
You just saw it?
It was really bright.
We had a camera set up back over there, pointing this way at the seat, and just out. Nothing else happened except this one thing.
See, 308 is one of the newer stories that we've added to the ghost tour, and it took a little bit of convincing for me. My predecessor, Tara, who was here with the theater for more than 25 years, used to tell a story when she did the ghost tours about being in the auditorium one day when the building was empty and coming across the back of the auditorium, headed out to the lobby for an appointment. She thought she saw a man wearing a fedora sitting out here in the auditorium. So she called out to him, and she said that he stood up and turned around and looked at her and disappeared. So she went in search of a flashlight to try to find who might have been here and wasn't able to find anybody.
We can, Jill had called us out to, told us the claims of this area, and when you get an apparition, that's the toughest piece of claim to try and validate, because they don't just appear, when you want them to.
Yeah, it would have been his concern.
Let's take a look.
When placed on the trees.
Focused on this area based on this witness.
So C308 looks good. I don't think we need to make any adjustment there. So that's going to go out.
Nothing else happened except this one thing, this just mass of light just shot down past the camera, floated over these seats and stopped right here and just hovered and dissipated. As crazy as that sounds, it happened.
But if what Tara saw was truly accurate, that it was a man wearing a fedora, then we can kind of pinpoint a time period. It could very well just be somebody that came here back in the day and would sit and enjoy movies.
Oh, it was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Cool. That was very
so cool.
Coming down the row and getting very low baseline readings that would spike as soon as you got to that chair. What I thought was interesting would spike when the girls were sitting around it, but would calm down when the guys came there.
Yeah, I guess the man in the fedora really likes the ladies. He's a ladies' man.
You're squeaking?
I hear that.
You heard the squeaking?
So we definitely get a reaction out of this area when we have female investigators.
I know, right?
I've heard a lot of things. You definitely feel like when you go to seat 308, you can definitely feel that there's something there, the energy.
And here's the thing about this area, is that there's no electrical conduits or there's nothing, and there's just like a regular steady high stream of EMF.
Part of the process is running the experiments and trying to elicit responses, but the other process is just sitting there and listening to your environment.
That tickles.
An object like the Boo Buddy that basically takes out the human element of it, because we're our worst enemies for contamination.
These are not the original seats. These seats were put in 1976. So the seats that were here when somebody of that era would have been visiting are no longer here. And in fact, we're getting ready to reseat the theater again at the end of 2017. So these seats will be gone and there'll be new ones in their place. But we do intend to make sure that there is a seat 308 in this area, just in case he comes looking for it, he's able to find where he's supposed to be.
Well, I've actually had one here in the Tampa Theater. Me and one of my friends were walking down one of the staircases. We heard a scuffling, and we didn't know where it was coming from or anything, and we knew there was no one down there. So we followed the stairs and turned a couple corners, and sure enough, there's a shadow on the wall. We had no idea where that was coming from. We just freaked out and ran back, and this is just a curiosity.
I think how it started, my mother passed away, and she and my son were very, very close, and so I really feel like his interest developed out of a need to just know that there was something more, that people just don't end at death. So I really think that's how it kind of started.
There's a big reading in like both the stalls.
So it's just something that we're not necessarily afraid of it, but it's just something to be explored.
We just found a very easy working relationship, and I found in Jeremy and the other folks in Genesis Paranormal people that I could work with, that I could count on, and that I could put on TV without worrying that something crazy was going to happen.
The whole, what are we calling it, Jeremy? The Photoshop or photo booth experience?
It's the Photoshop booth experience. The most rewarding experience is being a part of that history. Was that a fan that just went off? You guys heard that?
I heard it.
By what we've experienced here and the evidence that we've collected, I would just like to add to that experience of history for other people who come here. One of the theories is that spirits are made of the electromagnetic field, and so it could be a spirit manifesting within that field or that frequency.
It's amazing. It's incredible. The energy when you walk in here is amazing. There's nothing like it.
It measures 0 to 220 plus milgauss. Okay, so what this is also EMF.
Okay. First time, yeah. I definitely have had personal experiences. You know, I'm not arrogant to think that there's nothing beyond this reality here, so I'm very excited to see what happens.
One of the places of focus was obviously the projection room. And, you know, part of our process when investigating is we don't like to know too many, of the claims or the stories. It just helps solidify validation with anything we might experience.
Our projectionists have all had experiences. Our guests have had experiences too.
Was it Foster Fink? I don't know, but I do remember coming downstairs after we had our time up there, and I told her my experience and what had happened, and she said, well, that is a constant claim, of people being tapped on the shoulder up there.
And of course, by the time they would turn around to see who was there was nobody behind them.
As if perhaps Foster is up there reminding them to do their job or pay attention.
Foster Finley was our projectionist from 1930 to 1965.
What's his name? Fink. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And we know that he went by the nickname Fink. We know he was a relative of O.G. Finley, who managed the theater at the time, so he probably had a little bit of help getting his job here.
Foster Fink Finley.
Fink, are you the one who tapped Jeremy on the shoulder when he was here on an earlier visit? Fink was the projectionist who died of a heart attack.
We do have patrons that come to the theater that experience Fink in different ways, usually through smells.
In the mornings, you can smell the lavender from his aftershave powder.
The most curious of the stories that we kept hearing over and over again was people smelling lilac. And sometimes they didn't even know what they were smelling other than it was a flower scent. There was a popular aftershave in that era called Lilac Vegetal that was a powdered lilac scent, and that what we might be smelling was Fink having his morning shave. Once he got up to the booth, we have a little bathroom up there, and we know that Fink would have his morning shave up in the projection booth and clean himself up a little bit, and then he would dress in a three-piece suit.
Stay on the right side of the road.
We know that he genuinely loved his work here at Tampa Theater and thought that what he did here was very important. And the way that bore out in his work, first of all, he worked here 6 days a week. And when he got to the theater, he had a little bit of a routine that he would go through. So if a new film had come in and the cans of film reels were here, he would pick those up down in the lobby. He would pick up a cup of coffee from our concession stand, and then he would drink his coffee and smoke a cigarette as he headed up to the projection booth, because of course back then you could smoke in the building. We have guests report often that they smell coffee when they're sitting up here. Now, we still brew coffee in the building, so that's not that far out of the realm of normal. We also have people, though, say that they smell cigarette smoke. And we haven't allowed smoking in the building in decades. So that's a little bit stranger, but again, if the guy next to you had a cigarette before he came in, that could account for that.
I do like the idea of being able to, I guess, use the gadgets and measure, magnetic fields and stuff. I guess that's going to be interesting.
All right, so we're going to go and start in the film booth. You guys have your REM pod? Let's bring that. Okay,
it's my
cool.
first time, but apparently there's temperature? Yeah, temperature gauges and stuff, and yeah, so. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Fink did not die in the building. That is a common misconception. We get that question all the time. He did fall ill here. He collapsed up in the booth, and he was taken home by his co-projectionist, Bill. He died at home a couple of weeks later. But ever since then, every projectionist we've ever had has suggested that they think Fink might still be coming to work 6 days a week and climbing those stairs with that cup of coffee and cigarette to do his day of work here at Tampa Theater.
Santa sets up a fantastic automatic toy factory on Mars.
We have shown that film.
Santa Claus conquers the Martians.
I don't know that we have record of what film was showing when Fink fell ill. Apparently the story's out there that it was Santa Claus versus the Martians, which I do know that we've played. So there's a chance that was what was playing.
For real space-age fun.
I don't know if that's a proper epithet for somebody so important, but...
Currently have a recorder going with Boo Buddy back there. And also have the REM pod sitting near it.
Yeah.
You guys run the tour. Do you guys know the story up here? Okay, with Foster Fink Finley? Okay, you guys brought your geophone? Okay, this is awesome. And can we turn these lights off in here?
Yep.
Okay. Just say your name, everybody who's up here. So for the recording, my name is Jeremy.
My name's Ryan.
Jill. Janet.
Sara.
Valerie.
We're getting it. Now when this happens, you need to try, don't assume it's paranormal, try and find its source. So there have been doors that have been shut, doors that as if somebody's trying to open and somebody's hanging on to.
Just tonight, when the projectionist was leaving, he knew what we were here to do tonight, and he kind of laughed and said, "Yeah, I haven't seen Fink the last 2 times I've been up there." And I said, "Wait, are you kidding? Or are you just being funny?" He's like, "Oh no." He goes, "Go back there and go past the
new projector and past the sound rack, and when you get over by the old platter, that's where I feel stuff. He said, every time I run the spotlight over there, it feels like somebody's looking over my shoulder. He said it's creepy, but we know Fink's friendly, so I don't worry about it.
Because that, if there's a spirit here who wants to interact with us, they can use these devices. Will also let us know that you're here.
It was going a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, and I sat down, moved back here. Yeah, I set it down and moved a few steps back, and it started going off. It was in the first light. It was the green one.
Okay.
So a little bit.
It's so weird because, you know, in my experience, you know, human energy is different. Some human energy diffuses paranormal activity. Some human energy amplifies it. You got a REM pod. And so what this does is go ahead and turn it on. So basically, you've got these 4 sensors here, okay? And it's probably going off because you're near it. So it has this sensor here, okay? It's a proximity sensor. And so basically, this is an object for spirits to interact with, okay? So a good thing to do with this device, it's sensing me, guys, so don't worry, it's not paranormal. Fink, is this where you stay? This back area? Make that device light up to 2 lights for me.
How to tune into your environment and just embrace the natural areas.
Being able to channel and harness those natural energies.
In regards to the theater, it's been incredible. We caught a couple of EVPs, and one EVP in particular, you know, that's actually dear to my heart, not just because of the theater, but because of the person asking the question was one of my team members, the late Scott Caput, asked the question, help us keep the theater alive for years and years to come. And we got a response, very distinct, that says, I'm trying.
Depending on where you are in the building and what spirit, what set of stories you're talking about, they manifest in different ways.
Sure do. Yeah.
Fink.
You can see there's nothing around that sensor. Yeah, you can see it, absolutely.
Look at it.
Did you surprise yourself?
Yeah.
A burning desire to understand why that happened, and then upon learning that there's a darker side to this and that people are actually affected by it,
Is that you, Fink?
made me want to help people, you know, in my journey and to search in understanding why these things happen.
It's more along the lines of learning to protect yourself so that you don't have something latch on to you or follow you, which can cause harm down the road.
Pretty awesome, guys.
Be sure to just lay your borders and say, you cannot come with me, just not allowed. That's off limits, you're not allowed to do that, and they'll respect that.
Whoa. You guys hear this? Holy smokes, that's incredible.
I tell you, that's the first time we've ever had a reaction on that REM pod.
That's incredible. That's amazing.
We've owned it for about 6 or 7 months. We never have any luck.
There's nothing near it.
Is that you, Fink?
These lights just
turned on.
No way.
Those lights on the ceiling.
We have never had like this much activity.
She said,
Can I
make
just-
the light come on?
And the light came on.
Thank you, Fink. I asked him to make the lights come on the REM pod, and the lights came on.
He made the lights come on.
Thank you. Thank you,
Jeremy.
Fink.
Even the spirits of the theater are trying to help keep the theater itself alive.
I have never seen it. That is the coolest thing. And to be able to interact. Holy crap.
You know, we don't always get responses to them, but with a building as historic as this one is, I would have been kind of surprised if we didn't get any response at all, especially because it's a very active building. There's things that happen all the time.
And you know, you run into it more than we do, I'm sure. That
I do.
People think it's silly, but it's also part of the history of the building. Even if you don't believe that Fink Finley is still here, learning about the 30s and the 40s and what projectionists did back then and how it all worked is still part of movie history.
Pretty amazing, and I hope to get to go on another one after this.
It's been going to like orangish red. It's been spiking whenever you're asking the questions.
And it's
going high.
And it's
going
not
really
related
high.
to the cameras like we thought?
No, it's just sitting there. It's going all the way up.
Is that you, Fink, that's making these devices go off? It's just going crazy. That was a silly question. Of course it's I apologize if I insulted your intelligence. Another spike, Alex.
Thank you, Fink. Thank you.
Thank you, Fink. I mean, it's like, it's just stopped. It's just completely stopped.
Let's go.
All the spirits here, I feel like, know that I really love telling their stories, but they freak me out. And that's always, whenever I'm in the building by myself, that's always kind of my request is, I believe you're here, I love telling your stories. Please don't scare me. That was pretty incredible. I mean, I've seen a couple of things. I've heard some of the recordings that are made, but that was the first time I've actually got to witness it firsthand. And so that was kind of neat.
That just was so exciting. I was so happy. I was smiling around the whole time. It was so happy. I was so happy.
Yeah, that was great. It was a great response, and I think that Jill's assessment with the fact that Fink, the projectionist, is a bit of a gadget guy, and that was something maybe new that he hasn't seen before, and he was reacting to it. So that was pretty incredible.
We're getting a lot more response than I expected. So, and we and again, I believe that having the right energy can help that. So maybe we just have the right energy here tonight. Maybe they want to be in the movie. Maybe because of the theater and because of why they're here, they want to be in the spotlight. That's a good possibility.
Sister, what you callin', what you doing tonight? Hope you're in the mood because I'm feeling just right. How's about a corner with a table for two, where the music's mellow in some gay rendezvous? There's no chance romancing with a blue attitude. You've got to do some dancing to get in the mood. In the mood. That's it, I've got it, in the mood. Your ear was spotted, in the mood. Oh, what a hothead, be alive and get the jive. You've got to learn how. Hep, hep, hep. Step like a heifer, pep, pep, pep. Hot as a pepper, step, step, step. Step like a stepper, we're mugging and hugging, we're in the mood now. Sister, what you call them, all you needed was fun. You can see the wonders that this evening has done. Your feet were so heavy till they hardly could move. Now they're light as feathers and you're right in the groove. You were only hungry for some musical food. You're positively, absolutely in the mood. Hep, hep, hep. Hep like a heifer, pep, pep, pep. Hot as a pepper, step, step, step. Step like a stepper, we're mugging and hugging. Man, we're really in the mood.